the seaside. Oh, we found a way in the great Northwest. Oh, we lost our sun in the rain, and it's a long, hard road that we must travel now. Oh, it winds.
I'm not sure if you could hear that, but it's just things like that bothered me, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're rolling, buddy.
Oh, we're on?
Yeah. I'll introduce you here in a few.
Okay.
Oh, my love, you found me at the right time. My heart was lost to you at the first sight. Oh, my love, you found me at the right time. My heart is yours, and I ask that you be kind.
Welcome everybody. An afternoon stream, informal, casual. Good morning. We can call it that. We can call it a good morning. Feels like one. Definitely a different type of energy. A lot of people say, Jesse, do you only ever broadcast at night? What's up with all these late night shows? I don't know. Is it just a different type of energy? I think I actually get a bigger audience during the day, but we'll see. The numbers are climbing up there. I'm really excited. First of all, this is a guy that I've known, gosh, I want to say going on 2 years that I've known him pretty well, and then I've known him longer than that. Not very well, mostly in the comment section, but he's always been encouraging. He's always been one of the most engaging and inspirational people as far as like creativity and just meeting me point by point. By far the most emails back and forth saying, yeah, but what about this? What about this? Yeah, oh, dude, have you seen this? And so we're just carving out into this landscape, this conspiracy culture, me and Matthew North. So I'm just really excited that you're here, Matthew. I'll put you on screen so people can hopefully see you. Everybody say good morning to Mr. Matthew North.
Hi, guys. I'm excited to be here. And I want to thank Jesse for having me on and discussing these topics. These are very interesting, and I also think crucial to point out to people. A lot of people don't want to talk about these topics on their show, but Jesse kind of gives us a sort of a life draft out in this ocean to discuss things like this. So I really appreciate it, and love your audience, and just happy to be here.
Dude, I assume that when you say these topics, you're talking about how to bake shellfish correctly without it being poisonous to your family and friends. Oh, you're talking about things like the intellectual dark web, Brave New World, deception overall. Dude, I have to say, though, as far as research, you lap me. You go around the block as far as the amount of depth and the amount of topics that you cover, and just giving it to people straight. You know, none of the personality, none of the filler. Well, I don't mean to say none of the personality, but like you are. It's like a film noir. Like you go over to your channel and it's like, boom, like spitting it out like a rapid fire Gatling gun. So I talked to you about that. And I said, don't change a thing, but wouldn't it be fun if you let it breathe a little bit, came over here, put your feet up, treated this like your living room, and we got like a little bit of a different format. So what do you say to that?
It sounds great to me. I struggled to do that. So this is a new experience for me. And, hopefully I can kind of relax today, and we can just have a laid back show and discuss some topics as well. So
it takes a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, and I haven't been able to do it either. I like every time I get in front of the camera, I'm like, don't waste anybody's time. Don't waste anybody's time. I hate that idea, but I do think with your channel, you cover so many topics, and you can just sweep through with Alex Jones and Joe Rogan. You can just bury them in an hour and a half just because you found the connections, you found the various factions, you found the institutions in a lot of these cases. And I have to admit, there are a lot of these institutions I haven't even really caught up. Like there's lots of gaps you could fill in. Like the Esalen Institute by itself, I was just like, whoa, like we could devote whole shows just to that. And maybe we will.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up with Esalen, because it ties into so many larger, bigger picture agendas as well. It's one of those things, when I have overlapping research with other people, it's one of those things I came across on my own around the time we did that show last year, initially about Joe Rogan. And we kind of predicted Space Force 3 days before by talking about RMAs, which is all about weaponizing space and different things like that. And then 3 days later, Space Force happened. But during that time period, I was
what's RMA? Just if you breeze by anything like that, I'll slow you down. And just to clarify, when you say RMA,
RMA is Revolution in Military Affairs, and it comes from future Soviet warfare ideas. So ideas that were implemented by the Soviets that were ultimately implemented in our government. So it's kind of like a good example. It's not on the same level, but like Krav Maga, the Israeli fighting technique, how they implemented it within our government. Now our soldiers are taught, or our elite soldiers are taught Krav Maga, but it's actually a foreign government's idea. So revolution in military affairs originally started off as future Soviet warfare theories, and it's a massive spectrum from space technology, weaponizing space, to IT, to information warfare, and a lot of things in between. And information warfare is also a huge, very wide spectrum, from memes to the kind of broadcast Jones does, to like your classic Air Force definition of using energy weapons in conjunction with attacking enemy computer systems and things like that. So
it's like all encompassing. Is it a term that's used widely, or I mean, where do we go to find that term? Like into the books and deep dives into websites?
Yeah, you'll typically find it in Army white papers, military white papers. Recently, it was mentioned on Rogan's podcast when they were talking about UFOs with that woman, I forget her name, where she brought up revolution in military affairs, and she kind of gave an aspect of it where it's an idea where you implement a warfare system that has not been seen before, and it hits people real quick, which could be drones, like she gave that example, or information warfare. There's plenty of different examples. So and Michael Aquino talked about it because he was involved with it. He's the one who sparked the whole RMA, revolution and military affairs agenda within our government. Also, because that takes me back to Esalen, because he was deeply intertwined with Esalen and Mind War. That comes out of research conducted from the Esalen Institute,
which is a book that he wrote. I mean, that's a whole concept. That's where we think the term InfoWars came from, is they adopted it from Mind War.
Well, it's sort of like the idea of weaponizing truth and using. He didn't actually use the term InfoWars in his RMA paper originally, and then ultimately it became a book. But he was the one who promoted the information warfare idea through other works that are related to Mind War. But yeah, so just where was I going with it? Oh, the Esalen Institute. It's an amazing thing that Rogan ties back to, Jones ties back to through his, the kind of operation he's running. And then ultimately
I didn't know that you'd found a connection through Jones. That's interesting. I'll have to ask you about that later.
Well, I'm just saying through the Mind War thing, because it's basically what his operation is. But yeah, and then a deeper part of it is the amount of Soviet espionage that was going on there. I mean, there's literally treasonous activities going on where they would take in Soviet engineers. This is during the height of the Cold War, when there's no connection between Americans and Soviets. But Estlin was able to bring Soviets in, and Governor Brown, Governor Brown of California, I believe his name was literally giving secrets on how to build dams and how to redirect rivers directly to the Soviets. So, I mean, just classic espionage stuff going on there. And our buddy Joe Rogan has gone up there,
Yeah.
So
who's the shaman that we found that's like his closest connection to Estlin? At least one of them. He does commissioned work for the astrophysicists and such. What's his name?
Yeah, in the Pentagon as well. Bruce Damer. That is a huge connection to Rogan. He connects to people like Pete Warden, Darth Vader, the guy who runs all the space operations, or used to, I believe, up until 2015. He also ties into people like Yuri Milner, the Russian Jewish, oligarch, whatever you want to call him. But Bruce Damer considers himself a shaman. And the idea of being a shaman is, according to him, is putting yourself on the shelf and weaving through all these different worlds. And he says from NASA think tanks to Pentagon think tanks and a lot of things in between. So, and he's also good buddies with Dennis McKenna. A lot of people with Rogan will say, I think his handler might be someone like Mike Baker, but I doubt that. I think Mike Baker was sort of just like a pencil pusher. He does have CIA people on his show, but I would lean more towards somebody like Dennis McKenna, the brother of Terrence, who is involved with the MK Ultra culture wars,
something that he's like just been consistently pushing like for a long time.
Yeah.
When did he first get involved with the McKenna brothers? That's Mike Baker is just that cover up artist who comes on the show and talks about the JFK assassination, right?
Exactly.
Oh, those are the most pathetic Joe Rogan shows. There's not like an ounce of truth in those shows. It's embarrassing how much kicking under the dirt, like just sweeping things under the rug, contradicting almost every nonfiction book about the Kennedy assassination every time that guy goes on. I'm sickened by that Mike Baker guy. Well, we're going to get lost in the details just because of the nature of how your mind works, but I love how your mind works. You mentioned Michael Aquino. You also mentioned the predictions that we made pretty much, I think, exactly last year. I think it was June of last year. Can I ask you that? Like, because you're probably still trying to drive to a point, which is fine. But I'm trying to get you to relax a little as well. That show that we did where we made predictions about Joe Rogan and the podcast world, you say we predicted Space Force. That's never really connected for me. Even though you're right, like it's really ridiculous how Trump announced it just within like the week and everything. But is there anything about that original show where you're like, oh, we were really off, or oh, do you have any other like observations about it? Because if I listen to it, it'd probably blow me away. Like I have this thing where I'll do a thing and then I'll kind of leave it in the dust and I'll forget about it and I'll go back and then I'm like, oh yeah,
I haven't listened to it in a while. I'm sure there were aspects of it that were off or whatever.
We predicted that Elon Musk would be a big deal, and I still think that's in the cards. But I mean, we definitely talked about the podcast world being actively engaged. We didn't really know about the rise of Owen Benjamin, but at the same time, who would? And to this day, nobody really knows how he's going to be involved in all this stuff. But he is engaging that podcast network that we predicted would be the main thing we'd be butting up against. And you pointed out to me today that Theo Vaughn had Sam Tripoli on. It was published just a few hours ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was an interesting way they started that show off. By sort of promoting cryptocurrency. And the way Theo was describing it, it sounded like he was pressured into investing quite a bit of money into crypto. And it kind of freaked him out when he lost it. But he's also pressured by his buddies, he said, who start their own cryptocurrencies. And Sam Tripoli is all about promoting the crypto, that it's the future. You're going to get away from the central banks by using cryptocurrency, which I think is absurd. If you look up Let me pull this up real quick and kind of test this new system out.
Eddie Bravo's pissing me off too right now, man. Like Sam Tripoli and Eddie Bravo, their tune never changes.
Right. Yeah. It's very frustrating. And by the way, speaking of Elon Musk, Eddie Bravo, I mean, this is a prime example of because a lot of people seem to think he's legitimate, but he's not. He's deeply intertwined with these networks. He's been close friends with Rogan for a long time. Eddie Bravo was somebody who knew about Elon Musk back in like 2017. Musk's connection between Jones as well as Rogan. Actually, there was a clip. I wonder if I might be able to find it still, where they were at Jones and Eddie Bravo were at dinner at that steakhouse in Austin.
Yep. Probably filmed by Rob Dew. Rob Dew's always there with terrible lighting. Doesn't matter how many thousands of dollars worth of equipment they have. They couldn't think to bring a light to dinner. But yeah.
Yeah, and Elon Musk came up, and Eddie was kind of talking about it and saying, talk about the connections there, and Jones kind of hushed him up real quick. And that's when I started really thinking about, I should have saved that. It's probably because that was before the Jones got completely purged off YouTube,
right?
Which ultimately helped him, with all the incriminating things that were out there about him. I might be able to go back and find that though somewhere. But it was one of those like
the Hegelian dialectic or the Barbra Streisand effect, which
right.
We're seeing echoes of that right now, like within this past week too. But not to bring that up just yet. Okay, so they're talked about Elon Musk at this dinner thing, and I think we probably could find it because I know that flat earthers were re-uploading that thing, and it seems like the kind of thing that would be under the censor's radar is just Eddie Bravo and Alex Jones at dinner somewhere.
Right. Yeah. So he's deeply intertwined, I believe. But I'm with you. Both, he's very frustrating to me. Well,
he just says he doesn't want to get too deep, and he has these things that he'll bring up, and they're good teaching tools. But he's pushing QAnon far longer than any other person that I've seen. It's just he just seems to be disconnected from the truth community. He's somewhere in the truth community. But he hasn't gotten past Eric Dubé's channel or this or this or that. And it just seems to be whatever Eddie is researching just happens to be a limited hangout in whatever subject that he's researching. I don't know if he is, but he just chooses to hang out with what makes him feel good.
It's interesting you brought up him pushing Q. He was just recently on Sam Tripoli's show. I believe that was yesterday or the day before it was uploaded.
Oh yeah.
And he was pushing Q, like he typically does. But at the very end of the show, I don't know if you want me to pull it up or not. At the very end of the show, he was saying that, or proposing the idea, which is, I used to do videos about this all the time, a year plus ago or whatever, about how QAnon could possibly be a psyop. If you want to get people under a militarized regime, how would you do it? You would make them the good guys. So
Eddie Bravo, please don't play with the idea that it could possibly be a psyop. Don't let that feeling of hopelessness enter your chest, for 3 seconds. It's not worth your time, Eddie Bravo. Yeah. Go on.
Do you want me to play it or no?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it, but here.
Tap around a little bit. I'm gonna check the. I'll check the chat while you're looking.
Okay.
Debating whether to see Eddie and Sam tomorrow. They'll be right down the road from me.
Do it. Whoever that is, do that and confront them.
Get us a clip. Handsome Truth says Owen interviewing Crowder yesterday. Oh, Owen Schroyer. Okay, I was way confused. And then I think we are going to cover that, Handsome Truth. But the biggest thing was Alex Jones was stepping all over Steven Crowder's toes. Like, Steven Crowder clearly thinks that Alex Jones is discredited and like a form of cancer, and Alex couldn't help but piggyback on Steven's success and make his well-meaning piece at Google a publicity stunt. He might as well have had Laura Loomer and just thrown her on top of Steven Crowder, where Steven just, pretending to catch her. I don't think Steven wanted to have anything to do with Alex. And the way he cut that piece together, he was like acknowledging like we're all over this guy, right? Like nobody cares about this guy. I think Steven Crowder was pretty pissed off that Alex even showed up. I think Owen Schroyer did a good job. We'll probably like skim through some of that, and we'll talk about the bigger picture in our own kind of predictions. But yeah, that's a good question. That's a real good question. Did you find it?
Yeah, I believe I did. Let me just add something to what you were saying there.
Yeah.
It is interesting how Steven, and like you said, we'll probably get into this later, but I just want to say this real quick. It's interesting how Steven called for protecting everybody that is censored, and he wants to team up with all those people, but he gets upset, even although Alex was grandstanding and creating a distraction. You're right. It seemed like he wanted absolutely nothing to do with him, even though he's calling for protecting all the people who were censored. So that's an interesting little dialectic.
I think he waited as long as he could to have Alex on his show, and it was only as a result of Alex going on the Joe Rogan. And again, Papa Joe made it okay to talk to Alex. Steven Crowder, a conservative, defaults to Joe Rogan, a socialist liberal, before he would ever say, well, I have to have Alex on the show. He waited until Alex was at the pinnacle point of representing free speech, being deplatformed, to even have him on.
As did Sam Tripoli, So,
Sam Tripoli's even worse. Sam Tripoli didn't talk about Sandy Hook until Joe Rogan and Ari made it okay. He's a total opportunist. He's a total sellout. But yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's see if I can. All right, let me just say something, because this happens to me all the time. This is irrelevant to this, but every time I'm looking for something in a video recently, I just randomly click, and it happens to be in the perfect spot.
That's awesome.
It's just interesting.
Keep it going. Yeah, it's good to catch up on these. Is it playing right now? Hey, Matthew. Matthew.
Yeah.
You got to do it in the Jitsi program.
I thought I am, and I'm not sharing in the Jitsi.
Are you?
Oh, I have two.
Instances?
What is this?
I don't know.
Oh my God. Okay, my bad. I have two windows opened up. So
when we tested it earlier, I was worried that the program wasn't working.
Okay, that's good to know. All right. I had another window opened up. I don't know what that's from.
Well, that'll give us some more process.
Yeah, like this Pope is like rewrite. If the plan was to get.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, just making sure that window.
And everybody in an idea. If the what I'm saying is it's good if this is all real. If the deep state is like, if this isn't a trick, but it could also work as a trick as well. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It could also work. That would be a brilliant idea if the plan was to get everyone to embrace a military regime.
The head of the DNC.
Okay, so that's essentially it. But obviously, in my opinion, that's exactly what's going on here. And we still may see that in the future. That's
in keeping with what Cappy said in his last video too. Or remember in that Instagram letter, it said it was like the greatest military operation ever or whatever. All right,
yeah.
Keep going.
But yeah, if you want to, I've done videos about this Trump martial law, executive orders. I mean, Trump did put a lot of things in place where if he wants to, he can, call out, like Eric Prince's private intelligence networks and private militaries that they've been setting up for years now. He basically has his own SS set up.
Eric Prince is in charge of Blackwater?
Yeah, formerly Blackwater. I believe it's called Academy now. Okay. And funny enough, they're typically working with the Chi-Coms, So, I mean, there's always connections back with these people. They're not against the Chi-Coms. They connect right back with them.
And the relevance of this clip is this is like the first time that we're aware that Eddie Bravo's even flirting with the idea that it's a psyop.
Right. Yeah, and it obviously is to me. Yeah. It could just be a psyop to get people interested in Trump the entire time, or he could be in the future planning on acting on the executive orders he signed and really putting us under a military regime. Who knows? Everything is in place for him to do that, but who knows? So I just wanted to share that. I thought that was interesting that but before this, for 20 minutes, he was talking about how legit QAnon is, but he just happened to mention that at the very end there. So
if he's legitimate, it really is the fact that he's gripped by despair the second he lets that thought in. But come on, man, like, give me a break. Like, how disconnected do you have to be? What else you got? I know we're talking about catching up on Joe Rogan in general. Anything launch off of that point that you can think of? Sam?
Not necessarily about that. They did address Isaac Cappy in that.
Really?
Yeah, it's somewhere in that. Eddie was saying that he probably got taken out for what he was doing, and I personally haven't followed the whole Isaac Cappy situation very closely.
Right.
I was always very suspicious of that guy, and I always figured there's something more going on there. And it was going to be a limited hangout ultimately, and there weren't going to be actual people named. So I haven't really followed that closely. I didn't follow the apparent suicide closely, so I don't really know exactly what's going on there.
Okay. Yeah. It's just interesting to see Eddie pop back up, Sam popping up on Theo, because obviously that's very powerful for them to all be able to appear on each other's podcasts. That's clearly where the youth culture is. That's what's hip. That's what's trendy. That's what's cool. How about this? How about the fact that recently you had an interaction with Sam Tripoli? People on my channel would not be hip to that. Do you want to give us just a brief rundown? This, and I was like getting phone calls while this was happening, and I was so excited. I wanted to put more pressure on the situation, but I had like 5 other things going on at that time.
Yeah, so I put out my video about Rogan and Alex Jones, their connections, deeper connections to the satanic Crowleyite type disinformation company, which connects back to Channel 4, which Jones actually admitted. I later found the clip that the whole Bohemian Grove saga was actually orchestrated by Channel 4. So they were obviously invited in. There's some deeper connections there. But should I pull up that? Well, I probably don't have it right here. But if you want to watch my video, it's pretty recent on my channel.
I can grab it real quick.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Responding to Sam Tripoli, he got very upset at me, and it's exactly what Jesse and I had talked about on the phone, and we both agreed that it was him acting like a bear and bluff charging. I never, I figured maybe he would have me on, so he said, you can come on my show at any time. The door is always open. So I said, absolutely, this is what I want to talk about, and I linked him my Rogan Maps connection video, which gets into Bruce Damer and the McKennas and Esselin and the whole deal. And he wasn't interested in it.
No,
he was,
what? Just the idea of Sam Tripoli possibly putting pressure on Joe Rogan is ridiculous. Just the fact that you were able to put him in that situation is so ridiculous. So you included his name in like one of these videos, just like breezing by him. Mm-hmm. And then he ended up in the comment section like just trying to intimidate you, saying a whole bunch of nothing. But like then he tried to claim that you were backpedaling when he was backpedaling. And the whole time he's like, come on my show, man. Come on my show. And you're just like, Matthew North is going to come on your show and he's going to talk about how you're a whore to Joe Rogan. And everybody knows that's true. So you're just going to end up editing it or not having him on, period.
Well, and then I even gave him the option if I wanted. I said,
hold on, let me load it up real quick. Okay, it's loaded, but now keep going, brother. No, talk. I mean, I just
direct CIA connection to you. That's why I wanted to go down that road.
I'm sorry.
You can't.
Okay, so this is essentially the email communication between you and Sam Tripoli.
Yeah, you can't see it because this is the only live stream I've ever been able to get away with. I read it here, but the quality's horrible.
Did he come back at you when you put his private email out there in the world? Did he say, "I can't believe you did that," or did he say, "Come on my show" after this? What was his response to this?
No response. I emailed him back and said, if you don't want to get into Rogan, let's talk about Soviet Israel or a topic like that. Other things I find important, and no response back. So,
oh man, and we can hit him so hard about how he hated Alex Jones. He hated Alex Jones for, talking about Joe Rogan's kid, and I didn't like that either. But he hated Alex Jones and thought that was disgusting. But then when Alex Jones was willing to come on his show, he thought it was the greatest opportunity. Okay, let's play a little bit of this.
You can't have that.
Let's see.
This whole situation happened. Sam commented on my recent video, and he said, "Matt, you're full of shit. Anytime you want to come on my show and show any proof of your insane claim that I'm a CIA asset, the door is wide open." I never said that he's a CIA asset. I never claimed that at all. I said I have an issue with you marketing conspiracies as comedy. That was what I claimed. And also gatekeeping it and mixing it with a lot of Let me say something real quick here. Things like the lizard people.
Go for it.
I do want to clarify something. I have no issue with people using comedy, like I explained in this video. I have no issue with people being comedic and being funny. I think that's really important. I find a lot of people entertaining. But my issue with him specifically was actually creating comedy shows that were based around conspiracies. And like you said, ultimately just being a whore. That's what he's doing. He's just being a profiteer. He's not actually red pilling people or whatever. He's just doing it for money, fame, popularity, and making a whole comedy tour out of conspiracies is just, it's pretty disgusting to me. And he obviously doesn't want to make a difference at all. It's just a Hollywood move. It's just a Hollywood entertainment thing. So it makes conspiracies just entertainment to people, especially if they're finding him through Rogan,
And I wouldn't say that he doesn't want to make a difference at all, but I think that his seeking of stardom and his seeking of notoriety trumps his seeking of the truth. And I tested him on it a little bit back in the day. I emailed him when it really felt like Sandy Hook was just going to be swept under the rug. And he was on the hook. I mean, he was on the hook for a little bit, saying, wait, what did Joe Rogan say? He was interested to know what Joe Rogan was saying. I told him that Joe Rogan was humiliating people and that Joe Rogan was like making people toe the line about Sandy Hook and Alex Jones. And Sam wouldn't communicate back with me and say, well, I stand up for Sandy Hook. That's absurd. He clearly was just going to wait it out to see which way Joe Rogan would go, to see which way we were waiting for somebody at the Comedy Store to speak up. We were waiting for one of those guys to finally break the dam. And then when Joe Rogan podcast says, well, Sandy Hook and censorship is an important issue, it's exactly what I predicted. Sam Tripoli then all of a sudden pretended to be a pioneer and pretended to be like an advocate for free speech. I have an email. I might as well open it right now and just show people the receipts where Sam Tripoli didn't give a shit back when all this stuff was really important. So let me do that while we could play the clip, but I just have to let me navigate just because we're talking about Sam Tripoli and I get so pissed off thinking about how close it felt like we were coming to just like 1984 back in the day. While we're on the subject of sharing Sam Tripoli's private emails, when was this? This was around the time that my brother died. Let me see. I've got there it is. I haven't had too many interactions with him. I even sent him an apology. I basically take that apology back. All right. All right. So my email interaction, there might be something embarrassing in this. I can't really remember what I said, but I don't care. Okay. So keep in mind the date on this email. and when this was an issue that I knew about and cared about it and saw that Joe Rogan is what everybody was looking to on the issue of conspiracy culture and Sandy Hook. August 22nd, 2018, okay? I said, Joe Rogan just cashed all his chips on Sandy Hook, meaning that he was going with the official narrative and that Sam wasn't saying anything about it. And then I added more pressure. Your friend Joe Rogan just cashed all his chips on Sandy Hook. Your word-of-mouth benefactor, Joe Rogan, just cashed all his chips on Sandy Hook. Your Hollywood political connection, big-time comedy man, Joe Rogan, just cashed all his chips on Sandy Hook. This is me calling Sam Tripoli a whore, okay? Sam Tripoli philanthropist Joe Rogan just cashed all his chips on Sandy Hook. Sam was interested. He said, how? How did Joe do that? And I told him which episode to watch. I said, Shooter Jennings was just publicly shamed on the issue. Joe Rogan he's sold out. Joe Rogan is done. I said, everybody can see it. We all have eyes and ears, Sam. It's not like anybody's confused about the timeline, how these things unrolled. So he wanted a link. I said, none of the Sandy Hook claims in the newspapers are free of defamation or libel. Alex claims he attempted to call Joe about Sandy Hook. Joe contradicts that claim, says Alex never called him about Joe being approached by the CIA. Watch this very carefully in the next few days. And I said, I would lose respect for myself if Joe said something like that to me. I'm just clearly just driving a wedge between him and Joe, calling him a whore. This is an embarrassment. But these people care about the size of Joe Rogan's platform. They don't care about losing respect for themselves or losing favor, with Joe. I mean, that is what they care about. They care about losing favor with Joe. He interrupts Shooter with New Age nonsense. So this is where I drew the line. Back in August, I knew that Joe Rogan was never going to change his tune. Saving face. Will you please insist Joe watch this video for his sake, for his future embarrassment's sake? This is a video of Wolfgang Halbig talking about his legal strategy. I sent this to Sam Tripoli back in August because I saw that Sam was confused about it. Will you tell Joe that Lenny Posner and many of the Sandy Hook parents are skipping their court appearances and insist he won't be able to backpedal like he has about the moon landing? Alex is letting Joe hang himself as a test to their true friendship. August 22nd, 2018. This is the worst of it. Alex knows what he is doing. And I start sending him emails of all the YouTubers saying, fuck Joe Rogan. Owen Benjamin. I used to have admiration for Joe, but now he makes me absolutely sick. And this is what Sam latched onto. He just thought I was one of Owen Benjamin's bears. And he just thought, oh, okay, you're one of Owen's bears. Now I know how to reply to you. Hey, boss, Joe and Theo are good friends of mine. I don't need emails like this trashing people I care about. I appreciate your passion, but I can't have this. To each their own. Owen has continually trashed me on his live streams. Can't get down with that bullshit. Good luck and Godspeed. I call him an opportunist. He comes back with good luck, boss. Now I get to watch this opportunist try to pretend to be like a free speech advocate because he had Alex Jones on his show. And it grosses me out, as you can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
You want me to play? Want me to play a little bit of your interaction with him?
Well, not. We don't have to. People
Okay.
can go check it out.
Yeah.
If they're interested. But just playing on. I don't know if you want to get into the clips we had emailed about at this point.
Let's do that. Let's
Okay.
let's do the actual show that we talked about.
Yeah.
What a great idea.
All right, but yeah, just playing on how fake Joe Rogan is. It's just. Well, here, let me do this first because this is a prime example of how absolutely fake he is. And I was watching Nightwave the other night, and Mersh, I believe his name is, was just hammering the Comedy Store. And he's funny too, so it's pretty effective. But I pretty much agree with what their stance is on, and I've said many of the same things that they have. And he was playing an example of the fakeness there when he was talking about the whole Theogate situation.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just share this real short clip here. Here, can you remove that YouTube video so I can?
Let's see, what do I do? How do I unload it?
Just the same way you put it on.
Okay.
All right. This is just an absolute prime example of how fake Rogan is, and the whole Comedy Store clique.
There's been a lot of talk recently. A lot of people asking me.
I haven't looked into this Theogate thing. It's pretty interesting, maybe irrelevant, but it's also a good example of how fake they are. People think they're all great buddies and they all get along so well, but I think there's some legitimate turmoil between those two. And they put on this show like they're friends, and they're all working together fine. But
am I correct? You're talking about Tom Segura and Theo.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
But I just want to. I mean, this is an example of how fake all these guys are together. And people think they're 100%, legitimate. All their worshiper fans are listening to this, and they think this is a legitimate interaction. So, I mean, let's listen to this real quick.
You would be if you'd be who's Bert Kreischer's friend, the comedian? Tom Segura. If you hated Louisiana, you'd be Tom Segura.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me tell you what happened to me when
So just that example of him acting like he doesn't know who Tom Segura is, like he doesn't know his name. There are so many fans out there that think that was legitimate. It's just a prime example of how.
And their podcasts are like right there next to each other, probably in every YouTube search. It's like clearly he knows who he is.
Well, exactly. Yeah, and then the guy, his producer, immediately names Tom Segura based off of Bert Kreischer's friend. How many friends does Bert Kreischer have? I mean, it's so fake and orchestrated. That's why I say it's the realest fake thing you'll ever see.
Yeah, I remember Mersh saying that because it was like, who's that comedian friend of Bert Kreischer? And Bert Kreischer, meanwhile, all his friends are from the Comedy Store. They're all comedians. Yeah. Oh, Tom Segura. Yeah, that's a good example. It's a great example of how passive aggressive they are in the public spotlight. I think it's part of celebrity culture. You have to get your shots off, and you have to be sort of undetected, I guess. It's intended for that one person. It's intended to sting, but nobody else is really supposed. You're just basically trying to drive the other person nuts, I guess. Right?
I think that's exactly right. Yeah. So transitioning from that into this clip here recently from Milo with the Legion of Skanks. This is interesting. And this just plays into, I mean, when people go on his show, they're fake. They're not being themselves. It's a very orchestrated, controlled environment for specific ends.
He had you guys on, and how safe you were. How safe you all were on the Joe Rogan show.
You're right.
You did not talk like you talk here.
Can I be honest? How come that is? How come you guys fucking cucked it up and didn't act like your real selves?
What a great sentence to say, putting in a cigarette.
I'm sorry. How come you guys cucked it up?
He doesn't even smoke. How come?
And I
great question.
So I listened to a couple.
Legion of Skanks goes hardcore than anybody. You finally get on Rogan and you fucking act like goddamn gays.
Thank you. No, not gays. Faggots.
You bunch of fucking faggots on that
faggots.
show. You could have brought Legion of Skanks quality in that show.
Excuse me.
And you didn't fucking
It takes strength and courage and fortitude and an ability. It takes an ability to withstand pain.
Hold on, one second.
These guys were faggots.
Pause.
5 to 17 times.
Matt.
It takes some kind of it takes this sort of gigantic African American appendage. Honestly, that takes courage and.
Let me just say real quick, Milo is such a disgusting person. And this is something I used to talk about back in the day. You have all these homosexuals making comments like that at the forefront of the alt-light and alt-right movements. And people thought that was legitimate. Like, it just blows my mind that someone like Milo was ever recognized as legitimate, pushing these traditional values type of person. It's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, Steven Crowder helped him platform boost as well. They boosted each other. They reflected each other and magnified each other's message. I remember seeing that clip of Milo on a college campus. They would go around and shame these college students for their Marxist beliefs long before Jordan Peterson was ever out there or on my radar. It's interesting you chose this clip. I was going to save this one for later in the show because I thought that this was. But you're right. You're right about this pacing. What we're seeing right here is this is one of Joe Rogan's best friends on the right. This is Ari. And what is Ari doing right here, Matthew? Isn't this is sort of strange behavior? If I'm not incorrect, isn't this sort of something sort of out of left field or a pattern that we haven't really seen before? Or am I just imagining? Am I just seeing things?
No, this is something that we're not used to seeing, where you have Ari acting as this provocateur, and I'm going to play some other clips later on that just show that he's stirring the pot with a lot of things, and I think there's an agenda behind that. But we have Ari just completely calling Rogan out for how fake he is.
Calling Rogan out and trying to earn street cred, throwing his own friend Joe Rogan under the bus, saying, "You cucked out to Rogan." This is the mile marker that I've been looking for, that I knew that you and I were putting pressure on, because even though they couldn't tell each other, when they go to the Comedy Store, they'd seen your video. They'd seen my video. We freaking won the war against Joe Rogan. If Ari is acting like that and is letting go of his professional courtesy, he can say like, "Oh, this is just like a joke that we do with the Legion of Skanks." No, this is him saying, "I'm hedging my bets. Joe Rogan is not the future." This is him trying to impress his friends and trying to be provocative and edgy. And Joe Rogan has lost the culture war officially.
Yep.
It's over.
Do you want me to continue playing this?
Play it. Let's have a victory lap.
An ability to withstand pain. Y'all, on the other hand, very disappointed.
Didn't do it.
Very
No,
dis-
can I be honest?
It's our
That makes a
big
great
moment.
point.
We're on Joe Rogan. We must be on best behavior.
Hold on.
What is wrong with you?
Matthew.
I don't think there was anyone afraid of making
oh my
like
God,
a.
we best
Tap
not say
it in.
faggot.
Tap it in.
Also,
Just tap it in.
also
Matthew.
there was a couple times I made
Disappointing
joke.
and disgusting.
Also, I made a couple
Stop
off-color
it.
jokes the first time I did it myself.
You could have been Legion of Skanks on there. Milo was there.
You weren't Legion of Skanks. You were Legion.
Matthew's not looking at me.
Man,
Well, the
I tell you
joke's
what,
on
when I
you
made the
because
name
we already
Legion of
have
Skanks-
Legion of Fags trademarked.
Yeah, too late.
For
No,
when
you know
you're
what's-
on Joe Rogan.
You know, it's hilarious. The first time I went on Rogan, I made like 2 or 3 like off-color jokes.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, those were 2 or 3 things that he took that he went like, I don't know, what do you mean by that? And I was like,
Yeah, but
just
and you know-
joking, man.
And you know why?
I had to go, I'm just joking,
but
man.
This is what I'm talking
I lack
about.
comedic
Because
timing?
he no,
No.
you don't, because you know you're well,
That's all you got.
not funny, but
fair.
you have your moments.
Thank you.
You have your
It
moments.
does get
all
crowded.
you
You
could
you
ask
see what
for.
he's touching?
And in
Jay
this-
feels.
Hey, Matthew. I was trying to get your attention. I'm sorry, man. When you play a YouTube video, it doesn't let me pause it. So
Oh, okay.
we missed a great deal of it back there. Are they about to call him out, or were they calling him out that whole time?
They were calling him out the whole time.
Okay, I was freaking out. Can you just go back and let's just watch that one more time, because this is so culturally significant.
Okay.
Okay.
Guys on
May.
and how safe you were. How
On that
safe
show?
you all were on
Yeah,
the
you're
Joe
right.
Rogan show.
You're right.
You did not talk like you talk here.
Can I be
How come
honest?
that is? How
And
come
I-
you guys fucking cucked it up and didn't
Yeah,
act like
you
your real
did.
selves?
What a
You did.
great,
I love
what a
you.
great
Good
sentence
point.
to say putting in a cigarette.
I'm
No,
sorry.
where the fuck
How
are
come
you
you guys
guys?
cucked it up?
He doesn't even smoke. How come?
And you know I
a great question.
So I listened to a couple.
Legion of Skanks goes hardcore than anybody. You finally get on Rogan and you fucking act like goddamn gays.
Thank you. No, not gays.
Faggots. You bunch of fucking faggots on that
Faggots.
show. You could have brought Legion of Skanks quality in that show.
Excuse me.
Okay, so we have him calling him out there. I did want to play another portion from that
Keep
show
going.
because
Keep
I
going.
might slightly disagree with you on what's going on here.
Okay. Well, let this play out, because we haven't gotten to the part. We haven't gotten to
Am I
the
muted?
part.
No, okay.
I can hear you. Matthew? Really? Matthew? Matthew?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Let it play out a little bit, because this is coming on to the part that was cracking up. They couldn't hear it. So just let this play out a little bit
Okay.
more. Okay.
All right.
You didn't fucking
It takes strength and courage and fortitude and an ability. It takes an ability to withstand pain to be gay. These guys were faggots.
What? Just because Lewis called him Mr. Rogan 5 to 17 times?
To take some kind of it takes this sort of gigantic African American appendage. No, honestly, that takes courage and an ability to withstand pain. Y'all, on the other hand, very disappointed.
Didn't do it. Can I be honest?
It's our big moment. We're on Joe Rogan. We must be on best behavior. What is wrong with you?
I think we were all just kind of like, this is a pretty big deal. That's what it is the whole time.
Oh my God, we're on Joe Rogan.
I don't think there was anyone afraid of making
we best not say faggot.
Tap it in.
Also,
tap it in.
Okay, pause, Matt. Pause.
Yeah.
Okay. The other clip.
Oh, let me play some. It's just a very short part from another one.
Okay, go for it.
It's from the same episode. Let me see here. Yeah. Okay. This is where Milo. I don't know if you caught this, but this is where Milo said that Rogan is next in the crosshairs. Now, it's interesting that Milo's acting in this provocateur role, as Ari is. It's very interesting to me that these guys are acting in this role, especially with the recent, I don't know if you read the recent article that Milo released about those two guys, I don't remember, those two guys in the UK associated with Lauren Southern, and he dumped a bunch of dirt on them and them connected to Hope Not Hate, and how Jones got scammed out of $50,000 and the whole deal. And Milo's starting to dump dirt on people. And Milo does have access. He's well connected. You know, he does consider himself a Jew. So everything that comes along with that, you know, so this is interesting where he says Joe Rogan is next. And I think that,
so you think this is actually falling into a script now? You think this is actually, they actually have bullet points and Joe Rogan is kind of going down, or at least he's becoming like a, I guess like a plot point in their narrative?
I think so. And I think that Rogan, it's going to be comedy at the forefront of free speech yet again. I think this initial censorship Vox situation with Steven Crowder, we know it's been going on long before then, but I think this is leading to a larger unfolding plan where we're going to start seeing the progressives that are ultimately going to be destroyed, in my opinion, are attacking everybody, including these centrists, including people like Rogan, including comedy. So we're going to get to a point where it's like we all have to do something about this. We're all united on this common theme that we're all being censored, except for these progressive people. So, and I believe I know how they're going to do that. And Ari was also acting as a provocateur in that role.
Gas Digital Network.
And I'll play that clip next, and then we'll go back to the other one that you sent me.
Okay.
Before we get into today's episode, we have a new sponsor. This guy's a fan of the podcast. I don't know how or why, but apparently he is specifically on any subject. There's no one utterance. We're bred to believe that people kind of kill their careers because he misspoke. He made a joke. No. This only happens. Somebody's already.
Yeah,
Joe Rogan, for instance, is one of the next big ones to fall.
You think so? He's my buddy.
I know he's your buddy, and I don't happen to think it. I know it because one of the benefits of being hugely successful, albeit briefly, hugely successful, popular, and wealthy, albeit briefly, is that you create deep, lasting, excellent, and interesting friendships with very powerful people, which survive your alleged defenestration. So I happen to know who's coming up, and I can see, because I'm one of those people that has I can sort of see around corners quite effectively in culture. This is one of the things that makes me dangerous. He's one of the next ones on the chopping block, and they're going to come for him for sort of enabling and giving a platform to the extreme right.
Yeah.
Now, Joe has a lot of legitimate.
That started already. You see
Joe
whispers of it.
He just ignores it. He doesn't really acknowledge it.
Well, he ignores it for as long as he can.
No, I do agree with Milo there that they are going to start coming after Rogan. Like he said, for being alt-right adjacent and things like that. But let me play this one real quick. I think this is the main in for them coming after Rogan, and specifically comedians at the Comedy Store.
Can I tell you what I hear when he says that?
Yeah.
I don't hear him saying the extreme left is going to come for Joe Rogan. I hear Milo basically saying the Freemasons have decided after Steven Crowder, we're going to use Joe Rogan, and that's not going to hurt Joe Rogan. That's just going to make him more popular with Zionist Christians and in buffoons, But continue.
I 100% agree with that statement. That's the deeper level of it. I 100% agree with that. But on the surface, this is the paradigm that we're being shifted back into, that it's these transgenders in Silicon Valley that are perceived as these progressives, even though we know there's a hidden hand above that, typically Soviet Israelis, orchestrating this, and Freemasonic people and stuff like that, where, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, on the surface, it appears to be these leftists that, you typically don't see them exist in reality outside of Silicon Valley and places like Los Angeles and stuff like that. These extreme progressives, that's who's being painted as the people that are behind this censorship, so that's the surface level of it. I'm trying to find this other clip here where Ari is again acting as a provocateur. And I think this is the quote leftist media's big in with the Comedy Store.
And didn't Ari come up with a special recently called Jew, and it's how he was, I guess, I don't know if his family is Orthodox, but he broke away from it as like an atheist Jew. I'm not really clear on it, but he did a whole media circus. Like he went around to local news shows and they were like, tell us about your new show, Jew.
Right.
Today's episode is brought here.
Exactly.
Get that hitter. Oh yeah, I remember this one. Man, I'm so backlogged with all this stuff. God, what did he say during this episode? There was some really good. Theo was asking Ari if the Jews really run Hollywood. I remember that. I can't hear you, Matt. You got to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. He did say that. There's quite a few good things in here, but this is the point, this quick point I want to focus on here.
And fake my own death. And
wow.
Well, okay, first off, I thought that was interesting. He talked about faking his death, which is a common narrative with comedians. Well, Andy Kaufman used to talk about how he could fake his death. This is something comedians talk about, and people do fake their deaths all the time. So that's just kind of a side point.
Like that. But would you do that just to fucking impress him?
Your dad was cool.
Well, Adam Egget's father,
Just for clarification, Adam Egget is the manager of the Comedy Store. He's the one who's responsible for its resurgence. He's the one who's responsible for pulling Joe Rogan and that whole crowd back into the Comedy Store.
People might know him as Norm Macdonald's co-host.
Correct.
From the Comedy Store.
Holocaust denier.
Was he really?
Oh, he is still.
An HD? He passed away, though.
Adam
His
Egget?
father.
No, Adam Egget himself is a Holocaust
denier.
Yeah.
Look, some people are, dude. Look, it's like.
So here we have Ari talking about the manager of the Comedy Store being a Holocaust denier and presenting that on this massive platform that Theo has, saying that he's a Holocaust denier. And if you look around, people are starting to hammer on Egget for laughing at 9/11. I haven't seen any evidence of him being a Holocaust denier. I believe that he was probably making a joke, because that's kind of the character he was playing on Norm Macdonald's show. Somebody who would say that, or somebody who would laugh at 9/11 and stuff like that. But I think this is in the dialectic, the leftist media's big in with attacking these Comedy Store people, because in Los Angeles, this is seen as a bastion of free speech, a bastion of non-political correctness. But as you and I both know, Rogan is extremely politically correct and calculated in what he says, as are all these other fake
sold out to the corporations.
100%
getting Brennan Schaub and others into that circle. I wanted to throw something. I know this is throwing a whole other tangent in there, but the Brody Stevens narrative, where they brought the issue of mental health and making sure people get the help they need, and suicide prevention and all that. Very strange how the Comedy Store is becoming like the nexus of the universe. So many people's focus wrapped on these characters. I was totally blind to this Adam Egget thing. So continue.
Yeah, that was basically it. I mean, I can play him laughing at 9/11. People can look that up themselves.
But what do you think? You're saying? Were you saying something to the effect that Ari is coming after his job, or that he's at least trying to shake things up?
It's possible. It's possible that Ari wants his job. Duncan Trussell had the talent coordinator manager job before.
I doubt
it's
it.
possible.
I think Ari's too lazy personally, but
Okay.
maybe.
Yeah, that's a fair. Yeah, it's a fair point, and maybe not. But ultimately, what he is doing here, whether he's calling out Rogan, he's calling out Egit, he's getting street cred by calling all these people out and stirring things up. Why? Why is he acting as a provocateur? And another interesting question to ask: why is the Jewish guy doing it?
Right.
Why were the two Jews sitting there? Do they want us to run with this narrative that it's the Jews that are breaking up the comedy
Milo and Ari are like, you're right. Like, so he can shake things up by saying Joe Rogan's an easy target, and he's going after Joe Rogan. And now he's saying, well, anybody who denies the Holocaust is an easy target. So you can see the menu of bullet points that he wants to attack. He's staying right in the middle like Joe Rogan, but just with different issues. I agree with you.
Yeah, so do you want to move into the other clip that you had sent me?
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully I have that pulled up here. Okay, here it is.
This is the mere reflection of what you saw with Ari and Milo, but I think on the Joe Rogan, like right in front of Joe Rogan's face, basically taking a victory lap and saying, I can't believe those guys.
And it's also interesting how insecure Rogan is throughout this whole, if you watch that podcast, to me at least, he's
Joe Rogan experience.
Very insecure the entire time. So I think he knows there's something coming down the pike in relation to him in the Comedy Store.
The Joe Rogan experience.
Hey, tell me this: the Creek in the Cave, the Legion of Skanks are not doing.
Yeah, what the fuck?
They're not doing their show at the Creek in the Cave anymore.
First of all, you guys coming to me on this is worse than Ainsling being coming to you about the Comedy Store. But
well, no,
go ahead.
you
I'll
were
answer your
just
questions.
on with Milo. I think it's directly related.
Yeah.
I think it's
that one wasn't
related.
at the Creek in the Cave.
Right, but that's why.
Wait, what happened?
No, they were trying to do it at the Creek in the Cave, and the lady freaked out. Right?
She buckled under pressure. That's not why they're moving. They're already going to move it. The new stand was opening up. They'll use this as an excuse, maybe.
Let me just say something real quick. If you pay attention to the shirt that he wore during this podcast, I think that was calculated as well. It's almost like they want us to hammer him on being a Jew, but he's wearing a very pro-Zionist shirt that says "Peace through superior firepower." You know, and to me, it's really a disgusting shirt. But I think that's the reaction that he wants us to feel from that, because I mean, those people in Palestine, those are human beings, many of them Christians as well, that are treated as less than human. And they're fighting back with rocks and slingshots against superior firepower. I mean, that it's
Matthew. I'm ignorant to this greater point, so I will backseat to what you know. What is Ari's definitive position on Israel and Palestine? Do you know?
Very well. If you watch this whole interview, he's talked about the Holocaust 10 times and how his dad was speaking there. My opinion, the Holocaust is not what people think it is. It's just a way for them to continue to do what they're doing. But it's just, yeah.
Well, but specifically what's happening now with Israel, because I know there are lots of Jews who they look at that situation, they say, well, I can't defend it anymore, but I don't know. I can't say I know for a fact that Ari's one way or the other. Have you found a clip or anything where he speaks to that?
Oh, I could. I've heard him talk about it before. He's very pro-Israel.
In the future, I think we will, because he's definitely on my radar now, and I think they are propping him up. I think you're right. Remember, one of my speculations about Isaac Cappy early on, as I said, well, look at Seth Rich, look at Isaac Cappy. Their part of the script is definitely to set up Jewish martyrs basically as building steps along the path towards the Antichrist. And Ari definitely fits that mold, whether he fakes his death or not. Frankly, just him speaking boldly in these controlled, retarded settings with Milo fits that category perfectly.
Yep. Yeah, very interesting.
And he owns the
People
question
will say
of
that's
Jews.
the reason.
So
he had a comedy. Well, just the fact that he had a comedy show called Jew, it's like they want him to own that phrase. Think about that.
I have a clip to play in relation to that after this one.
Wow.
From that bigger episode.
Keep going.
Start from the beginning for someone who doesn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't know what you're talking
They
about.
booked Legion of Skanks. You know who they are.
Yeah, of course.
They're legit people who fucking
Jay
hold
and
their
Dance and Luis, right?
Luis, yeah, and
Luis
Gomez and Dave Smith, and they're hardcore guys, except when they come on this podcast and kind of puss out. But like, they're hardcore guys for the most part, and so they booked.
Yeah, they bitched out on this podcast.
I don't understand.
Yeah, but no, but they're
Matthew, I'm sorry. Go back, just a couple more seconds.
Yes, in the heyday.
Sorry, what was that?
I had a snafu, so just go back a couple seconds. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Kind of puss out, but like, they're hardcore
funny.
guys for the most part, and so they booked.
Yeah, they bitched out on this podcast.
What do you mean? I don't understand that. I thought we just had a conversation.
Yeah, but no, but
there you go. Now you understand.
That's fucking.
Imagine Jackass in the heyday of Jackass, and them all sitting here politely and not trying to fucking shave their heads in front. It's like, come on, dude. Obviously,
they need a second chance on this podcast.
I don't
Big
think
time.
so. Not now. Not
Yeah.
when you
I wouldn't.
give
I
them all
wouldn't.
these expectations.
I would
They're gonna
not.
come up and do something crazy.
They
and
just
light
came here and
something
had a
on
good
fire.
time with you?
Yeah, it's been fun. Nice conversation.
What's the problem
It was
with
funny.
Oh, Legion of
it's great.
Skanks.
One more time, Matthew.
About
Just
30
a-
seconds back?
No, just like 5 seconds.
Okay.
It's been fun. Nice conversation.
What's the problem
It was
with
funny.
that?
Oh, Legion of Skanks.
No,
Should
this
drink-
is what the
drink some
problem.
tea and
they
cross
did
their
a
legs,
podcast
just like
with
I'm doing
Milo
right
Yiannopoulos, and Milo said they cucked out, so now Ari's running with the narrative. That's all it is.
The narrative. Listen, so they booked Milo.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we have this guy who's been fucking whatever.
The narrative.
And then everyone started doing the thing where they attack the venue. If you have that
Right,
air,
right,
you're the
right.
problem.
Yeah.
It's not enough that they can misanalyze the person or say, I want nothing to do with that guy. Then if you put him up, then you're the issue. A woman who's gave birth to tons of fucking great LGBA and fucking black performers.
Right.
She's an issue because she's not stopping a performance from happening. And then soon it'll be like, if you perform at that venue, then you're an asshole.
Right. That's nonsense.
Okay, one more time. Sorry. This thing becomes like less
Stopping
reliable.
a performance from happening. And then soon it'll be like, if you perform at that venue, then you're an asshole.
Right. No, it's nonsense.
Wait,
But
you
what
just went
ended up
LGBA.
happening?
Yeah, what's the A stand for?
A lesbian, gay, bisexual alliance.
Oh.
They have a lot more since I left college, but that's what I was told was
okay.
LGBA.
That's the problem is when you look at LGBT, which is like the accepted use
Yeah.
of those letters.
We didn't
together.
have
when
T
you
in
add
college.
the A in the end, we were like,
Oh, A is now asexual, and Finn Taylor does a great joke where it's like they're included, but he goes, the reality is the asexuals hate the other ones. They're like, you're disgusting. I don't care what kind of sex you're having. It's
a
gross.
lot of lesbians are not really excited about transgender men or
True.
transgender women, rather.
True.
Yeah.
There's that. There's TERFs, trans exclusionary radical feminists.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm busy fucking living my life and trying to fucking dominate.
That's what
I
a
don't
TERF
know.
is. You're trying to dominate?
I'm trying to dominate, dude.
Damn, I didn't know you were trying to dominate.
Wait, can you fill me in more on this though? So
tell me about dominating.
So wait, let's not leave dominating. I want to write that down. But
there was a big uproar. A lot of comedians started trying to like show how they were.
Okay. What do you think is the context? I mean, like, we can keep going, but that's pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much everything that people need to see. Like, I think Joe even repeated back to him and said the narrative, Milo's narrative, and that could be the right's, the alt-right narrative or whatever. But I mean, this is just pathetic. I mean, like, we're having to sit here, like, watching like volleyball players that are like 100 feet tall up above us playing this game, and we're just doing commentary on it, like at their feet. And here's Ari getting to pretend like he's like the free speech advocate, and he pulled his weight because he can speak up in front of Joe, but the Legion of Skanks guys can't. Meanwhile, Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura, they're like, who? What are you guys talking about?
Right. Yeah, that allegory you made there, or parable or whatever.
And I think your mic connection, just wiggle your mic connection if you get a chance. There's something. I don't know.
I hope it wasn't bad the whole show.
No.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you, but I just wanted to acknowledge it. Okay, keep going.
All right. I forgot what I was going to say. Do you want me to continue with this?
What is it going somewhere?
Well, you sent it to me. I didn't.
No. That was the gist of it. Just the fact that Ari did it right in front of Joe's face, and Joe's like conceding. He's like, "Yes, the culture war hinges on my platform. Mine's the biggest platform. And so, yes, people have to stand up to me, and here's my best friend throwing me under the bus. I mean, it's just the same crap that we saw with the Alex Jones interview. Ari knows which way the wind is blowing, and they even said it. Milo and him said that Joe Rogan is going up on the chopping blocks next. But that doesn't mean going up on the chopping block. That means you're going to get a platform boost. That means that more people are going to feel like he's been legitimized if they try something like that.
Yep, exactly. And ultimately just playing into the dialectic that's going on right now with this whole censorship thing, that, you know, this left versus right thing that it's ultimately playing into, that I see people, you know, presenting. So, yeah, I think Rogan and the whole Comedy Store and the centrist crowd is going to be tied in with this dialectic that we're currently seeing going on. I did want to play one more here quickly with Tom kind of calling out Ari. Now, if you watch this, Tom, I don't usually pay attention to him. Typically, I can tell if they're being fake or if there's some genuineness to it, but I don't know. I can't really tell with Tom, and I'm not sure if he's actually calling him out or what's going on here, but it's interesting.
Okay.
And that's probably the way to do it.
I think it's about right here.
Garbage
Are you
people.
serious?
And they fucking inflicted them into the world. Like, go learn on their turf.
Wow.
Bogus.
Look at them.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
Can they
know.
get out of the army and they think they could fucking go nuts?
Yeah.
I don't know, but people don't like Israeli tourists.
Really?
Yeah, they got a reputation about them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Like the
Americans
Zohan.
are way down the line.
No, Americans are not celebrated in a lot of parts where you travel to, man.
We are
where I
very
go.
celebrated in a lot of places. We're the only ones who tip consistently.
Hardcore.
People like our money.
Yep.
And the
Yeah.
ones who travel are not the fucking fat rednecks in
I guess
Texas.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We're the ones who've gone to the world.
But sometimes they are. And that's
sure sometimes there's loud Americans.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
there's plenty of obnoxious
Yeah.
Americans traveling.
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely.
But we're not in this top 5.
Really?
Interesting.
I would have.
Well,
I
we're
would have
not
assumed we would.
Normally shitting at the mall. I
Yeah.
can't
Shitting
believe
on
that
the
people-
big step
ground
down. It's a big step down.
indoors is insanity, dude. Like, for you to think that
And they're not
other
hiding
people
it.
are gonna be like, oh yeah, you just gotta take a
So
shit.
what
Just
is
do
the
right here.
culture like?
Dude, I've been where it's like I gotta piss in public at things like block me, block me, you
Bro,
know.
you
So they
pissed
get
in
4 or
here
5
a
guys around
dozen
them. They're like,
times.
no, you don't have to block me. I'm just gonna shit real quick. It's like,
Do they
Oh
wipe?
my
There's no
God.
wiping.
Imagine
All right, I apologize for that. That was not the right timestamp. I don't know where.
I like
I
it
get-
though because it does kind of give that vibe of like people with dual citizenship just treating the United States like their theme park. You know, I mean, it's like might not be the clip that you wanted. I had one that while you're looking, I can play if you just want to keep scanning. Your audio
All right.
is mine. I don't think it's my audio. There's some crazy audio. I'm just gonna remind people of this stream that I did October 24th, 2018. I have not watched this in a long time. I probably never went back and reviewed this. October 24th, 2018. Ari Shafir went on to Joe Rogan and he said, they strongman us into a position on Sandy Hook. So this was his big moment. This is where he imagines that he is the leader of free speech in the world because Joe wasn't saying anything. Joe was actually challenging Alex Jones and putting pressure on that situation where Alex was getting sued. Alex was just covering up because they're not talking about Wolfgang Halbig and never did. Joe Rogan and Ari certainly didn't talk about Wolfgang Halbig or anybody else. They just talked about Alex Jones. So this game of keep away, I actually can credit Ari Shafir. He was the one to address it with Joe, but I think it was just kind of scripted. I mean, I think it was just, there's nothing really much to it. It was just they waited so freaking long. It was so played out when they actually did do this. Ideologies, including Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, Joe can't be bothered to have an opinion on that. For months and months and months, until Ari plays dumb, and they're doing like a little Abbott and Costello routine right here.
And that's the most that we're going to get. Abbott and Costello talking about Sandy Hook on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Matt, you're.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I don't.
Or
I think that's
is it
coming
like
from
NBC?
you.
Okay, let me see.
Because if NBC is a private company, Shafir says, "Hey, the lizard people are eating kids."
Maybe it's
and
the
that's-
software.
That's who runs 60 Minutes.
Yeah,
And they say,
I've been
"No,
hearing
no,
that in
you're
and out, that
fired."
little clicking.
Look, Roseanne made one fucking bad ambient joke, and they canceled her. And they kicked her off of
They were looking to get rid of her.
Hold on, let me see.
They weren't.
They were.
They weren't.
That's not true.
Why do you say that?
Because-
the show was a huge hit.
Because of the outrage
It
over
could
the
be
first
me, I'm not
season,
sure.
She was like,
That's
she
okay.
supports Trump.
Yeah, but
I
the
talked to
show
Morgan about it.
was a giant hit.
But they were looking to get rid of her.
Oh, you
This
know what?
whole
That's from having my
group
phone
was
right next
already
to my
saying,
mic.
we want you out. We're looking for an
Like an
excuse.
idiot.
Kind of like
Okay.
when they got
Sorry
rid of
about
the
that.
Comedy Store.
I'm playing
who were
something.
filming when it was like, come on. They already wanted to get rid of you.
Well,
and then they found an excuse to get it done.
That's a tricky argument.
Just give me a second.
They wanted her out so bad.
I don't think they wanted her out. I think they wanted to minimize her.
Okay, I'm just gonna.
They said like, no, you got to be off the air now. It's like, what?
Well, that's where.
Okay, sorry, Matthew. You got something loaded up for me?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna load up what I was just playing for them so you can see it.
Okay.
This was last October when on the Joe Rogan podcast we finally got somebody talking about Sandy Hook. Remember, Joe Rogan just played games with us forever. Alex Jones was calling him out from the outside. Joe was saying, Alex, you got to take care of all these lawsuits. Didn't address it as a free speech issue. It was finally R.I.P. Shafir who said that it was a free speech issue. Let's see.
A lot. But I think
that business is a tricky business.
I just
man.
don't. How they said like, no, you got to be off the air now. It's like, what?
Well, that's where it's.
I got to find it, of course.
So he's saying Donald Trump can take the good of Kanye, separate himself from the bad, and then when Donald Trump's enemies say something,
Man,
capitalize on that and move forward. You know, fence sitting. This is fence sitting 101 from Joe Rogan.
What are you saying? I think you've given enough for me, so I'll let you talk.
Yeah, he's. You know,
I
he's
just don't get how
aligning
Alex
himself
Jones
with
went
a
to that
super
though. Besides
popular
that, so
guy.
that's what it was because he would have him on a bunch.
Well, you know, also alt-right wasn't a thing back then. You got to
Yeah.
realize when.
A lot of Donald Trump's momentum came from the InfoWars audience. So I think Ari is playing dumb just a little bit here, like a lot. I think Ari is playing dumb, but I think he's basically. I think he's taking a bullet for Joe because Joe's not willing to go there. Joe's not willing to lose points. So Ari is playing dumb, hopefully, to facilitate this momentum between Joe.
Isn't that interesting? I didn't even know that I can't even remember my opinion back in the day. I was saying Ari is just playing his role. He's just playing dumb because Joe can't risk his reputation saying this. So Ari is like the what do you call it? Like a alt-light or whatever, or is he faux right?
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. I want to find the Sandy Hook part.
Opinions that he doesn't share on the air. And he's definitely a prisoner of his own audience and of his audience's expectations. Yesterday, I made a live stream of me playing a video game, and the title of the video was intended to lower your expectations. I was like, don't expect anything. I'm just trying to figure something out. And then all of the comments.
And Diaz was, eat the fucking cookie. Like what kind of stupid question is that? You know
That's
what's
right.
in there.
We went to eat with him afterwards. He was barbecued. He was so
Barbecued.
much more reasonable back then. United with like Alex Jones became united with Donald Trump.
How they
up a win.
You know, it's going to be this game where I can't find
You're just
it.
taking, you're like you said about.
Let me see.
It actually it was.
This. I wish I could find the pure clip. If I can find the pure clip, it'd be better.
The Comedy Store.
Oh well. But do you remember this?
I do remember when this happened. I don't think I watched this stream with you, but it's interesting how Ari was acting in that same role where he's stirring the pot and initiating this to happen.
Yeah.
You know,
Before Alex went on, he was like, "Come on, Joe."
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, if these Rogan's connected to Trump as well. He's sitting there saying this stuff. He's talked about on his show how he has conversations with Donald Jr. So how are you criticizing Alex for having connections to Trump when you sit there and do the same thing? I mean, these are just the same overlapping networks. Ultimately, that's what this is, and it's just a big dialectic going on right now. And I still wonder, is Donald Trump going to be the one who steps in as the savior? Is somebody else, Tulsi Gabbard? I don't know. It's just, there's definitely an agenda going on here. And I think that this is a huge part of what I've been saying this whole show. I think these people are going to be dragged right on into it, and ultimately, like you said, get a platform boost and become more legitimized and be the bastions of free speech, comedy at the forefront of free speech again.
Yeah.
They're just jokes,
And this is all without even mentioning the big dog, Owen Benjamin. Like, we haven't even mentioned Owen Benjamin and how I don't even think there has to be a master script. It's just a pressure cooker. They have us in a pressure cooker and they evaluate, like smaller platforms like ours, and then they just make adjustments at the top,
Yep.
And people who are watching these 1.5 million channels who are now part of Steven Crowder's Mug Club, it's like they're getting played like a fiddle and they don't even realize it's just basic human psychology. It's the Barbra Streisand effect. So Ari and Joe have some Barbara. I just hope people smarten up by the time that they start pulling the strings with Ari and Joe. Like whatever Milo is hinting about. Of course that's coming down the line.
Well, and then think about this. Like I said before, Milo has stepped recently, his big resurgence with, going after Lauren Southern and Colin Robertson and the other rebel media people. Resurgence by dumping the dirt on them and stirring the pot with them and being a provocateur with them. So there's some big game plans coming up with this whole agenda that they're pushing. So I would say Milo does know about it. And it doesn't surprise me, like Rogan said, pushing Milo's narrative, which was Ari was doing.
He's now part of the anti-Jordan Peterson movement, with Vox Day, Owen Benjamin. I mean, there's not that many camps, and people are like dogs going back to their own vomit. As much as they say they love the truth, they love celebrities more, and they get bored very easily. So if you have a celebrity who's spouting the truth, you're gonna guess where the people are gonna end up. They're gonna end up getting hooked back into drama over and over and over and over again. Let me see. I'll give me one more crack at this clip, and then I'll give up on it. What's the decisive moment where Ari pushes the whole world forward on the issue of Sandy Hook?
You're bringing up the wrong questions, man. This is embarrassing.
I have a thing, and I think if you're making a video on how to make a bomb,
there's no thinking about it. It's a fact. The social media companies, big tech, went to the government. They said, we have a problem. We want people producing content for us. We don't want to be responsible for that content. So we want Creative Commons. We want the best of both worlds. We want to be, we don't want to be liable when people put a bunch of slander on there. And we want to be able to kick people who are doing stuff that we don't like. You can't have it both ways.
I think the authorities should get in there.
Right.
So you can't do that.
But what if you're making a video about how there's some people out there that are lying about their children being shot?
Same thing. Get the authorities in if you think it's leading to harm. But it's not the company
so
to
you
do
don't
it.
think you should be allowed, if you're YouTube, you don't think you should be allowed to tell someone, hey, you say a bunch of shit that's not true.
There it is. I'm glad I found it. Ari came in as the voice of reason on the Joe Rogan show.
It hurts people.
What's the word hurt mean?
Well, okay, if your children...
I think Ari is calling you a snowflake, Joe. And I don't think people who take that position are wrong in this case. Because you are saying that hate speech is more important than free speech. Hate speech is, higher than free speech. The fact that you are a month late on this issue is glaringly obvious.
What's his name? From
And by the way, I'm not arguing.
Yeah, I know.
Ari has already stated his position on this. So
Baptist Church, something Baptist Church. And he would go to funerals of.
It's all played out. I mean, we can find the pure clip, and that'll probably be a little bit more powerful instead of my commentary at the time. But it is nice plugging back into where I was at the time. And that exact same issue is like a can that's just getting kicked around this week with Steven Crowder. Same freaking issue, same shell game, corporate shell game that they're playing. I don't know exactly how Ari fits in, or Joe. I don't know if they're directly involved with the secret societies. Could just be that they have access to this platform and we don't. So we're stuck with them. Give me 1 second. And if you have another clip to load up, I'd love to move on to that.
I've pretty much used all my clips. We can move into the whole Crowder Jones crashing Crowder's thing if you.
Let's do that. Let's talk about that. Let's give a little breathing room because there are some people who have no idea who these characters are. Checking with the chat. Rogan has paid for Ari's stint for depression at a clinic for an extended stay. Yeah, every one of Joe's friends talks about how giving and charitable he is. You know, he paid for, I think, some of Eddie Bravo's surgery, stuff like that. Milo predicted Jordan Peterson going down. Ari's dad is Mossad, strangles animals. Oh, he's what was that? It's like an initiation into the Israeli army to kill a dog or something like that. I remember that.
I believe.
What'd you say?
I believe it's a kitten. You raise it from the time it's a baby, and then you kill it. So I mean that's typical of Mossad, but
just treating, telling people not to have just have no empathy because you want to have. Okay, Handsome Truth has a couple super chats. How do I? Oh, there we go. Nightwave is trying to get a job at InfoWars.
See, I don't necessarily know about that. I disagree with them I do disagree with them with their support on Alex Jones. But at this point,
I can speak. You don't have to speak on that. Jake at Blackstone sold out on Sandy Hook. Of course, absolutely. Jake Morphonius, 100%. Adam Green still endorses him. See a pattern. Yeah, and I don't think you're ready to speak on that issue, but you're gearing up for it. I have something. Okay, so then he talks about Adam Green going on InfoWars. Yeah, we're already on top of that, Handsome Truth. Well, probably not on this stream, but the thing about Nightwave is I saw that how that unfolded. That's through Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith was the one who gave Owen Benjamin a platform on InfoWars. And then Harrison Smith was thrown under the bus in Owen's usual style. And so Harrison Smith, I believe, reached out to Mersch and Royce, and then they had a guest spot on InfoWars. And I think that's where they've stayed, is doing guest spots on the War Room. I haven't watched their second appearance. I think it's good that you're looking out for that. They're not really on my radar, but, glad that you're looking out. Adam Green definitely is on my radar and has always been on my radar. Jake Morphonius has always been on my radar. Handsome Truth. Okay, so let's get into the Steven Crowder thing, which is like the most obvious thing that happened. I can get the clip unless you have it already. This thing is a shit show, and all it did was did I say Jordan Crowder? Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder became all the more famous, and he got all the more Mug Club subscriptions because of this. Now, I don't even know if you saw his little victory speech that he did, but I was just like, I had a disgusting feeling in the pit of my stomach when I saw this. So let me unload the other one and load this back up. I'm sure people are familiar with the Steven Crowder thing where you don't have to give them like the basics of how that all transpired.
I'm not sorry. I'll tell you what I am though. I am grateful. I am really grateful to the outpouring of support that we've seen from people. Let me sort of explain this a little bit. We offered the promo code free speech for $30 off for everybody who joined Mug Club through the weekend with a student, veteran, active military discount so that everyone could get it. More people joined Mug Club than in the company's history, and I'm so grateful. But something interesting happened. Over half of you who joined didn't use the promo code, and I've received so many messages, emails from people saying, well, we wanted to pay full price just because.
Okay, so they could have used the promo code. Steven just wanted to reach out and thank all those broke housewives who saw this bastion of free speech that he is, somebody being targeted and isolated by that Mazza guy. And boy, you could have used a promo code, but you paid full price, and thank you. I'm all the more richer and I'm all the more popular now because of a stupid publicity stunt. Like Hegelian dialectic 101, and people just still can't see through it because we're funneling down. They have us in a funnel, and there's no other show to watch, supposedly, meaning the big show.
Mm-hmm.
Steven Crowder had his 15 minutes of fame in the Masonic big boy show. Same way Elon Musk went on Joe Rogan and smoked some pot. Let's listen just a little bit more just to get people properly disgusted.
Is that the team is doing, and I appreciate it. I do want to clarify, though, the promo code is there to be used. So if you have a hard time affording the $99 a year.
Okay, my audio engine is just being totally unreliable.
If that's a stretch, please take advantage. I'm actually going to extend the promo code all the way through Tuesday night free speech. You still get the full $30 off. But I didn't want to go without thanking you guys. And I have some other people that I would like to thank, and something I'd like to clarify with you guys. By the way, the reason I'm taping this on my phone is because I'm about to hop on a plane taping a thematically appropriate Change My Mind, given the current circumstances. Ooh, if I were an auteur, that would be foreshadowing.
Did you see that shit? Are you watching this shit?
Yeah.
What the fuck is this shit, man? It's like they can't even hide it.
I know.
Because it's like they're just taking joy with how dumb these people are. Somebody pointed out to me sometime that he looks like Dan Aykroyd, and I can't unsee that now. Every time I look at him. Full disclosure, I went to college with this guy's brother. I've always hated this guy. The first time I ever saw this guy, he got in my friend Zach's wheelchair and he crashed it into a stone like planter. Then he went into the Scientology building and did like a publicity stunt. He matured a little bit, and then he had like a popular YouTube video that went viral. So he's talking about this thing he's doing outside of Google. It's actually a good piece. I don't think that it's heavy-handed on the propaganda. Handsome Truth was asking us earlier, what did we think about Owen Schroyer interviewing him, and we can just launch into that. Are there anything you want to say off the top?
Well, yeah, let me just say with this censorship thing, I hope everybody noticed that these small channels are being left by the wayside. Nobody cares about the small channels except for us, if we're a strong community. But all the bigger channels, they're the ones looking out for each other. They're the ones that are dictating the narrative, and they're the ones that are ultimately getting, recognition from it, and all the smaller channels are just forgotten about. So I want people to keep that
platform boosting. They're boosting each other. There's currently lists. People are listing off the names of the channels you should subscribe to. Oh, this channel's a good channel. This channel's a good channel. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about right now? Okay. All right. Well, maybe not this broadcast, but soon, right? Okay. Now, I'm going to load up the Google thing that this jackass did. Look at that cigar, man. Why? Why a freaking cigar? Is that to throw it in the left's faces to show that we're not going to back down? Is that what this is about? Okay, Steven Crowder Jones. What happens when you play Alex Jones on YouTube these days?
Nothing. Here's the thing. That's interesting you brought that up. I literally
wait. Unreliable audio. Sorry. Continue.
All right. Yesterday, I got a push notification for Jones's censored movie. I'm not subscribed to that channel. I've watched one of those like weeks ago. or a month ago. I watched literally one of those little promo clips. Now I'm getting push notifications for Alex Jones's censored documentary on YouTube. Yeah. So is he being censored? All of his content is re-uploaded to YouTube. I saw somebody today, I don't remember where I saw this at, but they posted, is YouTube fixing their algorithm? And they typed in Alex Jones, and it was all of Alex Jones's content rather than the classic, before it was mainstream media and different things like that filled, the first couple pages. But now when you type in Alex Jones, it's all his stuff right there at the top.
Well, that's cool.
So,
Those are finer points that I'm not even aware of. I'm going to look into that. Okay, I don't even know what aspect of this we want to play. There's so much to this. It doesn't look like. I guess this copy will do. But this is Owen Schroyer rolling up on Steven Crowder in Austin, Texas.
Hate speech isn't real. Changed my mind. So that's the challenge here. So I'm not sure if people are trying to change his mind on that or what's going on. But as you can hear, wow, you must have done okay, huh? You must have done okay. Mr. Crowder, how has your event? Owen Schroyer from InfoWars. How has your event been so far here today? You know what? It's been we're going.
Can we point out first of all, Owen Schroyer just times it perfectly. He just walks up, sits down, puts a microphone in Steven's face. I'm not saying this was an appointment or anything, but good Lord, man! I mean, talk about this being like a scripted event or being staged on some way. Google is in Austin. Steven picks Austin for this change my mind in front of Google. That's a walkable distance for Owen Schroyer and Alex Jones. I don't know. Like I said earlier, I think Steven hated the fact that Alex was there because it's muddying up his deception. But he was perfectly fine doing this interview with Owen.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yeah, and
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just going to say, I agree with my initial reaction to that was the same thing that yours was, that it was just seemingly perfect timing. And they acted like they've never met before. I find it hard to believe that these two have never met before or had any sort of communication, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I think Steven Crowder has been avoiding Alex Jones for a long time. I think he's considered Alex Jones sort of cancer, because he's doing his own thing, and obviously he has a very big ego. So the fact that they're kind of competing against each other, but as he told Alex when Alex came onto his show, he doesn't really talk about conspiracies. So I guess he doesn't really compete with InfoWars in that regard.
Well,
he's too busy keeping boomers distracted by wearing drag every chance he gets.
One more thing that's just interesting with Jones and Crowder. Jones has no problem associating himself with somebody from Blaze TV now, does he? Back in the day, he would always talk about how
he hated
back.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's no turmoil there now, seemingly.
Alex needs any publicity stunt he can get. He's desperate. He's desperate for shekels.
It's been honestly pretty. Yeah. We want to both put on me. It's been pretty productive. There haven't really been many people who disagree with the idea of hate speech not being real and agreeing that the First Amendment should be protected. And I think that stands in stark contrast to what happens when we go on campus.
Okay, so Owen and Steven Crowder in the same place. I just don't think it's strategically working in their favor. It just makes it look all the more staged and prepared. It doesn't seem organic. It's just the odds of this happening it's just too much for me. InfoWars has not been relevant. It hasn't even been in my realm for months and months and months. And this is InfoWars clinging to Steven Crowder's legitimacy in the face of his 15 minutes of fame.
The students get outraged, or professors. So being out here outside of Google seems that the general population in Austin, they're pretty reasonable.
And you actually spoke with a Google employee. How did that go?
Here today? Did I speak with a Google?
This is a terrible copy, Matt. It's out of sync, so it looks like some old kung fu movie. I wish I had a better copy of this, but we don't really have to. I mean, you get the gist of it. Right. They talk about it. They actually did, in my opinion, they did an okay job when Steven's lawyer friend came out here and they did this kind of Q&A with the public. I actually thought they did a decent job informing the public of the types of choices we have with big tech. But Alex was there yelling over Steven's crew the entire time, being a disrespectful twat, which was just awesome to watch. But, you know, like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you can't even talk about Alex Jones because he's just such a joke. Like people, you know, it's like, especially when every time they see him, he's with Laura Loomer or doing something like this. Might as well enjoy it while we're here. I really am. I'm losing my ability to play this at a reasonable time limit.
I'm not shaking Hitler's hand. I came down here to let you know that your racism isn't going to stand and you'll be banned from the internet. Well, you understand it. What are you going to do when Alex Jones joins Obama, huh?
I guess we can. I'm a little confused. I had such a quiet conversation with Owen.
That just happened. I have decided you're a bad person. I am now a transgender woman. Now, I'm not joking around. It's not funny. And I have
Matthew, I have to ask you, what the hell, man? Like all the rumors in the past and the tranny porn. I mean, I'm not. Don't say anything if you're not comfortable. But don't you think this is strange of Alex to, in the face of Steven Crowder and his publicity, have this kind of fake confession that he's a tranny?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is interesting. You know, it's very interesting. And then also all this stuff with Crowder, you know, possibly being a homosexual himself, you know.
Yeah. Cross-dressing, seriously. Yeah. Cross-dressing every chance they get in sketches. Their response to Carlos Maza was to dress up in drag. His producer dressed up as Melissa Etheridge, and the other guy dressed up as a bear. People thought that was a shot at Owen Benjamin. They every chance they get, they dress up in drag. Okay.
Well, Blair White, transgender, who looked like the adult film actress that in the video that Alex was watching, looked almost identical to that woman or man, came out and said that behind the scenes, Steven Crowder is actually doesn't feel the same way he does about the LGBT community that he does when he's on screen, that it's mostly just an act. You know, it just shows how these guys pander and how fake these guys are as well. They're not what you think they are. These guys are not what you think they are. And by the way, I know this is a grainy video, but you're trying to tell me that man, Alex Jones, is 45 years old. That man is 45. I'm going to quote Brian Callen here and say, Alex Jones looks every bit of 60 years old. He does. 45. Are you serious? Like,
I'll just pull up Steven's copy of the video, which doesn't have the full thing, and it's clear that he didn't want to focus on Alex. He just wanted to make Alex a joke at the end. Actually, you know, I think the original copy that I saw was on
Twitter.
Yeah, it was on Twitter. So give me 1 second to look for that.
Just while you're doing that, let me say, in that one of the clips I've seen with Jones in that censored documentary, the one promo I watched, he said that, you know, he's got maybe 5 years left in him and he's going to retire. And I believe that. I don't even think he has 5 years left in him. I really don't. But an interesting question to ask yourself right now is, what direction is InfoWars going to go after Jones is gone? Because to me, InfoWars is Jones. The reason that was so successful is because you had he's a master thespian. You had this master thespian step up, you know, and creating this radio TV broadcast, you know, in the Rush Limbaugh framework. And he built it up, you know, with a lot of help, but he built it up to what it is today. And he is the driving force behind InfoWars. So once he's removed, you can't just throw Owen Schroyer in there and he's just going to take Jones's role and just hammer on the kosher conservative propaganda like Jones does. It wouldn't work. They have to take a different direction. Owen cannot fill Jones's shoes. They have to take some sort of direction. So, I mean, it's an interesting question to think about. Like, what direction is InfoWars going to go when Jones does step out of the spotlight? You know, who knows?
And will people see him as InfoWars as relevant? I mean, of course, their audience will still be there. I've got the original. It's still a little choppy, but not anywhere near as bad as that copy. Just you won't be able to see it. So I'm just gonna play some choice clips of Alex being a publicity whore.
Shut down his speech. Will you trade in your InfoWars shirt for a Google shirt? Let me tell you something right now. I am ready. I am stuck here like Hulk Hogan.
He tries to rip the shirt and he can't.
I can do it. Once he gets here, I can do it. I can already do it. Don't worry. Once he gets here.
Once Steven Crowder gets here, will you take his shirt?
Steven Crowder heard I was.
He's already ruined his chance because he's wrinkled up the rim of the shirt.
Steven Crowder is a right-wing extremist that needs to be silenced.
So the lawyer is actually laughing, but he's trying to tape a segment. They're trying to get good audio while Alex is screaming over Steven Crowder's their remote segment in Austin. They're like, we can't come to Austin anymore because Alex is just gonna talk over everything we do. I'm gonna keep playing a little bit more.
I have joined Obama and Hillary, and I want him silenced.
Steven Crowder comes out the door at some point, and it's basically like a WWF.
I love it.
Alex and Steven size each other up.
David versus Goliath. I am ready right now. I came down here.
David versus Goliath in regards to big tech. That is relevant.
I've joined Silicon Valley. I am a woman now.
He's a woman.
And I am here to face down the evil of Steven Crowder.
He's facing down Steven Crowder.
I challenge him right now. Right-wing racist Nazi Steven Crowder. You must come face me right now. But he won't do it.
We got breaking news.
I talked to him on the phone. He ran away in fear.
He ran away in fear.
He ran away to Hitler inside there. He's with Hitler in a
He's with
bathroom
Hitler
right
in the
now.
bunker in the Google
Sir,
base.
do you defend Hitler? I hope you do.
They're trying to tape.
This is breaking news. Alex Jones has just come out as a woman, and he's joined Google here to destroy Steven Crowder.
I am transgender, sir.
I'm transgender.
I want to disavow Alex Jones right now. But now that you're a woman, that might be sexist.
That's why I can't wear my shirt. I'm transgender. Steven Crowder is a racist and needs to be silenced, and I am here to face him right now.
As the new Alex Jones.
I cannot believe the racism of Steven Crowder and the homophobia. So I am here.
Alexandria Jones, you've now become
Alexandria Jones.
Cortez Jones.
Alexandria Cortez
he says
Jones. Now that you're
Alexandria
officially a
Cortez
woman,
Jones.
what would you like to say about the old Alex
I
Jones?
was telling Steven Crowder, I'm beating his ass when he gets out here.
I'm
he
gonna
thinks he
beat
can
his
beat up
ass.
on women.
Just a
When
few
he
more
gets out
minutes,
here, it's
Matthew.
over, okay? He's a big guy.
It's
thinks
so
he can pick on
fake
women.
when you look
It's
at
not
it through this
happening.
lens.
I now am a servant of Hillary. I now am a weapon of Obama.
All right, here he comes.
Oh my God! Oh no! Hold on a
You're in a
second.
lot of trouble, you racist.
Hold on. What's about to happen here?
And Steven is not excited about this. Steven's not looking for publicity.
I know you're a racist, and I decided to join Obama.
Steven is like, they're trying to tape a quiet segment. Why are you doing this?
Listen, racist, I'm here to challenge you, Hitler. I'm not shaking Hitler's hand. I came down here to let you know that your racism isn't going to stand and you'll be banned from the internet. Well, you understand it. What are you going to do when Alex Jones joins Obama, huh?
I guess we can. I'm a little confused as to what happened. I had such a quiet conversation with Owen.
That just happened. I have decided you're a bad person. I am now a transgender woman. Now, I'm not joking around. It's not funny.
So Alex decided he needed more attention. And boy, that theme just keeps coming up, doesn't it? People just don't get enough attention. Okay. All right, man. That's most of the clips that I had, but that's pretty much the big picture as far as, please, I hope people can see through this. We don't know exactly where it begins and ends. We don't exactly know who works for who. But like you said, where Alex used to see Glenn Beck as competition and he would try to outcompete with Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck, now he's more than happy to collaborate because he's been so discredited within the truth community.
Right.
He'll get it where he can find it. And Steven Crowder knows. Steven Crowder knows he's not winning any points with that. He knows that why? Like why would he why not go to any other Google campus? Why go to the Google campus where Alex Jones would show up?
Right. And he knew that was going to happen. I mean, if he thought Jones wasn't going to end up going there, then, yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't seem very organic to me, but who knows?
I don't know. I mean, well, the organic question is like just looking at how disgusted Steven. Maybe Steven had a producer who thought it would be a good idea, but he himself thought this isn't what we want. I know you think it's a good idea because Alex Jones represents free speech, and now I'm Alex Jones in the new script of free speech. But that's too on the nose to have Alex Jones, a symbol for free speech, and then Steven Crowder, who's now in that position, get together in the same place and have this little stage play. It just shows the inconsistency. It just shines a light through the whole deception. It's dumb. It's stupid. I mean, it's like we're better off that they did that, because hopefully somebody watching this video now, they'll be like, yeah, that is weird. Yeah, now that you mention it, Steven Crowder is just becoming even more popular. Oh, that's probably why they did it.
Well, I also think there's a bigger agenda with that as well. There's a whole dialectic being created out of this situation, but at the same time, there is platform boosting going on. You know, so just pay attention in the future, what direction this goes in, and how people are united over this issue of censorship, united against these transgender progressive leftists. You know.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna check my email. We're not gonna wrap the show up just now. Coming out of those clips in the Steven Crowder thing, free speech, and how this is going to play out with Joe Rogan's crew. Are there any other players? We mentioned Eddie Bravo at the top. We probably talked about Sam Tripoli more than we needed to. We haven't even talked about Owen Benjamin, and I think everybody's trying to figure out where he fits into this whole thing. But the way I see it, it's like all they have to do is leverage bigger platforms against smaller platforms and just keep shuffling people around like sheep, you know? Okay, it was just about the super chats. People also had their own questions, and that was my decision, guys, because I only have so many screens, and if Matthew's on screen, it's going to be really difficult for me to also have the chat on the screen. So if you do have a question that you thought was really good, throw that in the chat right now, and hopefully we'll catch you before we finish. Hasn't Crowder been demonetized for a long time? How much money did he lose from being deplatformed? I don't know. I can't answer that one.
Not much. I mean, think about it. His model isn't YouTube monetization, and most of it's coming from working with Blaze TV and Mug Club. You know, it's these people that get hit and are propped up as people who are being censored and attacked. These are people who already have alternative systems in place for them to make money or for them to have an income. You know, like Jones, he already had his own website. He had his own community there. It really wasn't that big. It didn't completely destroy him for him to be censored off YouTube. Same thing with Steven Crowder. You know, it's these big guys who have an alternative are the ones that are propped up as, you know, the eternally demonized, you know, conservative people.
Mm-hmm. I've got a couple questions coming in. Again, if you had a really good question and we weren't looking, just copy and paste it now, and we'll try to hit it up. You know, Handsome Truth had really good ones earlier. Flat Earth Subgenius says, yeah, the Death Squad just in general. That's loosely the name of these podcast networks, in particular Brian Redband, who set up Joe Rogan. Jan Irvin and Brian Redband back in the days with Joe Rogan. They're talking about a particular trailer. I'm not going to get into that because I don't see the relevance of it right now. Duncan Trussell, and I do want to target Duncan Trussell. Griswold Grimm sent me a really good clip of Duncan Trussell that got him on my radar. I mean, he was already on my radar, but he's doing these weird, strange things on his channel, like doing hypnosis to his audience and stuff. And of course, he's real big into virtual reality. Joe Rogan in the mental health narrative. Joe Rogan's constantly pushing virtual reality, and they're not even trying to hide it anymore. I mean, they get off on it. Yeah.
Let me bring something up in relation to that real quick. Duncan Trussell, it's been Rogan and Duncan Trussell that had Bruce Damer on. Now, Bruce Damer, good friends with Dennis McKenna. They smoke DMT together, get ideas for science. They literally say that. Bruce Damer, who is one of the pioneers of virtual reality, he introduced Terrence McKenna to virtual reality in 1999. So he was setting up these avatars online. He was one of the earliest people working in virtual reality, and he did a whole show with Duncan Trussell, pretty much talking about virtual reality the entire time. You know, and then I also sent you, there's an interesting speech he gave at Yuri's night which is like a NASA Ames connected thing, where he's talking all about.
Do you say NASA Ames, or did I mishear
Yeah,
you?
NASA Ames.
Okay.
Yeah, which is what Rogan's connected to. But yeah, he gave a whole speech. I sent it to you. It's on the Internet Archive. About how we're going to get to a point where it's going to be like Avatar, and we're just plugged in, which is also interesting because Rogan, I believe, gave the same allegory or whatever, that it's going to be like Avatar. It's like they use the same words, they use the same phrases.
He's promoted the Avatar ride that they have, where you're going through the Avatar forest on a dragon's back. Very much like about that agenda, very much about living in some, and I don't understand it. I mean, if you're tied in with science and technology, I guess cybernetics, amputees being able to have their own prosthetic limb, people in wheelchairs. Obviously, there are benefits to machines, but that's where we typically see it. We see it in the health field. We see it with the sex robots. But Joe Rogan seems to have a very unique position in regards to physical activity, physical sports, martial arts. That led to all the predictions we made last year about head trauma and mental health. And of course, it's playing out. All the mental health stuff is playing out right now. It's only a matter of time before the head trauma stuff. One of the reasons, and this is something that really got your goat, was you said, how did you know? Like, how did you see it coming? And it was the Matthew Staggs. I went and looked at Matthew Staggs, his social media presence, and he had like football players and people talking to him about head trauma. I say, okay, imagine that you're having your own podcast and you're like, you're sitting in the back shed with your friends smoking pot, and you're talking about the subjects that you really care about that get your imagination going. Who's the person whose imagination gets going when you're recounting all the times that people have experienced head trauma in their life? It's like, who sits around and talks about head trauma? Matthew Staggs and Joe Rogan repeatedly.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, and that podcast was the Disinformation Podcast, which published many of Alex Jones's documentaries and books.
And you connected those dots so well, and you tagged it with Aquino, which I'm sure they hated. I know they hate to be associated. Michael Aquino, probably the second most prominent Satanist in U.S. history, second to Anton LaVey. He Satanized the U.S. military and the CIA. He's up there with the secret space program. It's on his resume. You can go to his website. He's not trying to hide it. He's packaged. It's all packaged together with that guy. You put disinfo right there, right next to him, and Joe Rogan.
Yeah, an interesting question to ask yourself about Aquino. Aquino was the first military space officer, the first. Yeah. So why would a one of the most respected names in psychological warfare, why does he become the first space officer? I mean, ask yourself that. How does that follow? That from Psywar to space, why are those always connected? It's like Zachary Kwan, the anonymous guy in InfoWars. He spent most of his times working in Psywar for the U.S. Army. First, with the Fort Hood shooting, that was a big psyop. Working with Voice of America, and then he worked with CARE as like a double agent. Meanwhile, he's this conservative type person working in Psywar, and then he starts working for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. So how do you go from Psywar to working in the space industry? Why are those always so connected? If you look through it, you find many connections there. That's a question I feel like people should be asking themselves. And I'm going to do a video on it in the future here, hopefully soon.
Owen Benjamin, obvious shill. Adam Green, not so obvious. If you know something I don't know and you're nervous to not put it out, shoot it my way. I'll expose it. No, I think we're just getting our ducks in a row. I mean, I don't want to speak for Matthew.
Yeah, I still talk to Adam. I understand why some people are, suspicious of him. Like he said that, he's even said that he doesn't think it's that crazy that people think he's working with Steve Pachenik and Steve Bannon, given how InfoWars has allowed him on the platform and just gave him the floor. So, but if Adam makes moves in the future where he starts like associating heavily with alt-right people, then I'm going to be really suspicious of him, But at this point, I understand why some people question him.
Well, that whole Owen Schroyer thing? I mean, like all he was doing was basically trying to skirt people away from you and talking about all the legitimate people. He's like, oh, Vincent Redell, he's just naming all these people, platform boosting, like circle the wagon type stuff. So
yeah, and it's funny. I just talked to him before that interview, like right before that interview, and he shouts out people like Lift the Veil and stuff like that. It's like, I don't know what that's about. I agree. Those are people that are playing into the left-right paradigm. The channels that he shouted out, like Vince, MAGA, Red Elephants. It's like, I don't understand.
And I don't have an angle on Vince or anything. I'm just saying it's like people who are doing pretty good for themselves.
Yeah.
Like Adam's just like firing off like like desperate. Like, like don't look at these guys, look at these guys. And it's like anytime they do that, and like the stuff that he was saying on my channel when Jan was on InfoWars, it flew in the face of that. He was trying to claim legitimacy, because he didn't have anything to do with InfoWars. But it's okay for him to talk to Owen. As long as he's not talking to Alex, he's not dirty. So Owen is clean, according to Adam Green, and Alex is dirty. That. Yeah. Oh, we'll figure out how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly where the truth community is at right now. Is people just want a list. They just want to know who's dirty and who's clean. We're all in a tough spot if we collaborated. You and I. We were put in a tough spot with the Jan Irvin thing and our professional courtesy. It probably forced us to be quiet for at least 5 days, longer than either one of us was comfortable with. I think we navigated it okay. I think we could have navigated it better. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, thinking about how that guy's going to retaliate has not been a pleasant ordeal. I'm just waiting for that guy to retaliate. And there's something on that subject. We didn't address it, and I don't really want to address it because it's like that in itself almost became a distraction. Like, where's this thing heading? And I think the Ari point is like, I'm really glad that we got out in front of that one, because I think Milo and Ari is definitely like the connector for how they're bringing this thing together. It's not even going to make any sense. And it's for people who are superficial and people who are watching podcasts and they've never heard of us and they've never, you know what I mean? They're not even thinking of these issues. They're not in these circles. They're just getting off work and they're listening to a podcast and they associate Ari with free speech. They associate Steven Crowder with free speech. So it is becoming important just to become super targeted, just to make sure that the people who are out there are legitimate. Same reason why I test Owen Benjamin, same reason why Handsome Truth would test everybody. And it's totally understandable. And I think that one thing, and I've told you this, the thing that's happening on YouTube that everybody who hasn't put a video out and wants to, you should know about this Lord of the Flies thing that's happening. Just expect it, because the stakes are so high. The future of people's families are at stake. So if you've waited this long and you've got this like hour-long video that you want to put out there, the comment section is going to be the comment section. You know what to expect. It's going to be nastiness. It's going to be concern trolling. It's going to be all the same tactics. Just plow through it and get over your need to get approval from other people, because the stakes are really high right now. And people, it looks like they are looking at the right issue. Free speech, getting big tech in a position where we're not slaves to big tech. Those are overarching patterns. But the smaller patterns, people are very much lost in like a paper shredder. People who've never seen this channel before, who are only familiar with, say, Owen Benjamin or Jaronism, and like that's their two favorite channels. I don't know how to communicate with that person. I don't know how to communicate with somebody who only watches Titus Frost. I aggregate information from all across the internet. Matthew does the same thing. We're doing, as far as I can tell, we're doing the best that we can. So I'm happy. Like, I'm happy with the people who are doing live streams now. I'm happy. I think you said that Sway Guevara is doing live streams too.
Well, he's been rebroadcasting my my show. What I would like him to do.
You said you said he might get into it, right?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure if I have no idea, but I don't think I said that. If somebody did, he does.
Here's a conversation that we had. The conversation was, I said, "Is there anybody up and coming that I can support who
okay.
maybe wants to live stream and hasn't. And we were talking about Handsome Truth and Sway. And I said, that whole thing with Jan is like his whole point was to try to like push us apart from each other. But what he's actually doing is he's pushing us closer together. And I'm like, I actually think that the GDL philosophy and the idea that to say it is to expose Jewish supremacy, it's actually true. It's accurate. It works. You can't talk about the GDL without people saying, wait, what does that stand for? What does it mean? Isn't that just it's a good strategy. And it doesn't really fit my personality type, but Jan and other people, like, they've basically forced my hand, and they said, this is your only option. Your only option is to create a group. It's exactly what the FBI is looking for. They want us to form groups. This is not a group. The GDL is a philosophy. It's an idea. It's a mindset. A lot of people are just posting memes. But the idea behind it is that Jewish supremacy exists. If you call something the Goyim Defense League and people talk about it anywhere else, they're highlighting the fact that Jewish supremacy exists. And as it was pointed out to me on that live stream, if you type the word Goyim into the live chat, people said that they couldn't even see it. So YouTube themselves, they said, this word Goyim is a problem. If once people learn what Goyim is and that they're referring to Gentiles in a derogatory manner, we can't have that. It is interesting. I mean, it is, frankly, whether Christians like it or not, things are accelerating where it's coming down to high stakes. It's coming down to whether you think that whether you think it's worth it for your family to have a homestead, whether you think it's worth it for your family to be able to choose to go to homeschool or choose, the health remedies that you want, to choose something besides these conglomerate corporations. And Steven Crowder and Alex Jones, they both represent that dialectic in how so many Zionist Christians are helplessly lost to it. Matt, any last words on that?
No, very well said, Jesse. I couldn't agree more with that statement. That someone needs to clip that, just post that, because that was very well said, and I just entirely agree with that.
It's Hegelian dialectic 101, man. That's all you have. Just stop people in their day and say, Steven Crowder, really? Hegelian dialectic 101. They're gonna be like, what are you talking about? Yeah. You just got lazy. You just got fat and lazy, or you're not paying attention anymore. Like, oh yeah, well maybe I'll go watch some videos. Is there a good video I should? And that's where people are at. Yep. They become voyeurs. They're sitting. They're waiting for somebody else. So, all right, man. And like I said, if there's somebody out there who's just needs a little push, a little prod, they're not really used to live streaming. They want to get their head around it. I guess I'm feeding Jan Irvin a little bit here, saying I'd like to make some time for somebody. Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate it.
Before I go, let me just, because I hate doing this, but let me plug my Streamlabs, because let me say thank you to the 4 people that did donate to me. I just appreciate that so much. I am on my way. I do need new equipment, and my financial situation is horrible. So if anybody doesn't mind, I don't even know how to do this because I hate doing it, but just donate at streamlabs.com/MatthewNorth1. Just type the amount in, go to the bottom and press donate. It's the same thing as using PayPal. So, and I believe you can send PayPal through northmattheww@gmail as well. So anybody who's willing to donate, it would be much appreciated. And it's all going right back into my YouTube channel and getting sufficient equipment so I can start streaming and really putting out good content, and consistent content.
That's something else we should talk about is the Mormon video you put out. Is that even on your channel right now?
Nope, got completely removed. On the day of the YouTube purge, which we've seen multiple ones of these before, it got completely removed. So that is on my BitChute. I'm going to start doing exclusive content for BitChute and 153news.net. I like 153 News way more than BitChute.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, it's a much better website.
Okay, perfect. Well, okay, so what's the deal? Was it community striked or was it copyright striked?
There's nothing. There's no strike.
Okay,
they just removed it. So I didn't get a strike.
What do you like? It was like it was a video that was like shadow banned. Is what you're basically saying?
Well, it was initially shadow. They put it in that limited state.
Do you get an
about a week.
email? I mean, do you even get an email when something like, because this is like some level of manipulation I'm not used to.
No, I'm not even sure if I got an email. I'd have to go back and look, but I was looking for a strike, and there was no strike on my channel. They just removed my video, and I believe they removed a couple other ones as well, but there was no strike. So I don't know if this is something. I think I've heard other people talk about this. I don't know if this is something new that they're doing.
It sounds like some
or what.
back-end manipulation, like some YouTube agent just pulling tricks, frankly, because no transparency at all. Well, I think we had talked about this. So if they go to BitChute, or I don't know if you have, like, if you can get a copy on your Google Drive or something, but I guess BitChute works. Is it okay if people mirror that video?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Please do. Any of my videos, please mirror. Use them for your own channel. I don't care about any of that stuff, just as long as the information gets out there.
It really hurt to hear that video was gone. So I wish I had covered that even sooner in this broadcast. As for the money thing, I think the hard sell, I mean, we're definitely in the days where you have to do the hard sell. I do think that you're losing out without the PayPal.me. I think especially the younger generation uses Streamlabs, so I think you're kind of cutting yourself off at the knees until you get something like Venmo and PayPal up. But I might be able to help you out with that. But I think for sure, like you and I were both in the same camp. It's hard to combine truth with money, and some people do other things. They sell T-shirts and merchandise. I think Vince the Red Elephant is now pushing survival gear. He's now pushing like military rations to eat, like old school Alex Jones. And you can tell the dude's getting real bitter too. He's getting real bitter about the loss of income. So I know this about you, Matt, and I know it about my own damn self. My channel has been, it's been a burden. It's been a detriment to my family for going on 4 years. And it took me 3 years before I even asked for money. So it would definitely help Matthew in this case, help get that new computer. And that means more live streams. So what are you going to go for? Are you going to go for a desktop?
Yeah, for sure. Desktop. And not a Apple. I Apple's can't stand it. I'm using an older MacBook Pro. Like 2000, it's anywhere from 2012, 2013, and it's just not capable. It runs so hot when I use OBS. I've done everything with the settings. I'm able to get out about 20 minutes of, like a very low quality live stream before it's just encoder overload every time. So,
yeah. And troubleshooting it's a bitch, man. And just the next time you do it though, just keep a look at the chat, because people are in the chat for like an hour trying to get your attention.
Yeah, I know.
All right,
yeah.
Dude, thank you so much. This is fun.
Thank you.
Even though we said we were going to try to have a more relaxed stream, it's impossible for the two of us to have a more relaxed stream. We're just bouncing off each other. I love it though. I'm sure people had fun. This was cutting edge stuff with you. You know what I told you this was going to be is all those clips that you had emailed me. And I'm like, can we just go over this? You email me these clips, and I'm sick of Joe Rogan. Can we just do a show, like a clip show about Joe Rogan crap? Because we didn't even do that. We covered other stuff. There's a whole other show we can do now.
True.
Let's do it soon.
All right, man.
All right. That was Matthew North, guys. You know him. He's one of my favorites. Definitely support him financially if you can. Definitely support him emotionally. And get that video about the Mormons. Mirror it wherever you can. He does not care. I do not care at this point about my YouTube content being on other channels. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Matthew. And have a great afternoon, man.
You too.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
In the great Northwest. Oh, we lost our son in the rain, and it's a long, hard road that we must travel now. Oh, it winds. I know that we shall one day move as one again in time. Oh, my love, you found me at the right time. My heart was such a beer.